on to topic number 3. And this is Kevin Keatts' time of year. At least it was a year ago, as the Wolfpack head coach led the red and white to the Final Four. Right now, NC State is trying to get into a different tournament, the ACC tournament, because only 15 of the 18 teams make it to Charlotte this year. Gentlemen, the Wolfpack have Miami, Pitt, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse in their remaining 4 games of the regular season over the next 2 weeks. Can NC State win their way into the ACC tournament in 2025?
Can they? Yes. Will they? Probably not. And here's part of the problem. We know the very bottom teams are almost certainly going to be Miami and Boston College, so they will not make the ACC tournament. For those who forget, this is the first year with 18 ACC basketball programs. You can either invite all 18 and have the format a certain way, or you can just chop the bottom 3 from the standings and have 15 teams invited the way it's been, during the time that the ACC was a 15-team league. Obviously, they chose that latter option, so the bottom 3 are not even going to be in Charlotte. It's the first time in the history of the 70-plus-year-old ACC that you're just not invited to the ACC tournament because of how low you finish in the standings. So we know 2 of the 3 pretty confidently, and there's a good chance the Wolfpack will be the 3rd, which will be weird given that the event is in Charlotte and the Wolfpack Nation tends to travel about as well as anyone. So we'll see how that shakes out if it comes to that with our coverage from Charlotte for everybody here on the North Carolina Sports Network. But here's part of the problem, Mike. Cal is one of the teams that might slide down the ladder, but Cal beat the Wolfpack head-to-head twice this year. So if it ended up being a tie, the Wolfpack would lose that tiebreaker. This Wednesday's game at Syracuse might be the Wolfpack's best chance to get out of the bottom 3, because the Orange are another candidate for the Wolfpack to catch up to. And obviously, if you beat Syracuse at Syracuse and you end up tied in the conference standings, you would get the tiebreaker, and it would be the Wolfpack getting invited to Charlotte instead of the Orange. But they better win that Syracuse game, because the other roads to avoid the embarrassment of going from ACC champion Final Four trip to bottom 3 in the ACC and not even invited to the ACC tournament, I think that Syracuse road is the most direct path for the Wolfpack to get there. A quick reminder, in a year where the ACC's home teams have been winning at a pretty high rate, 3 of these last 4 Wolfpack games are on the road, at Syracuse, at Georgia Tech, at Miami. The other game is Pitt. That one is in Raleigh. But I don't like the Wolfpack's chances. I was impressed by what they did to beat Wake Forest recently. Obviously, the Paul McNeil angle was among the highlights there. But I don't think they're going to catch, those middle-of-the-pack teams like Florida State and Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. So it's going to have to be somebody in that mix of Notre Dame, Virginia, California, Syracuse. And again, some of those tiebreakers, if it comes to a tie, already we know will go against the Wolfpack.
Not the position you want to be in when you're looking back on what could have been. 1-6 for the Wolfpack in games that have decided by 2 possessions or less. And then you look at your record and say, okay, 4-12 could be 10-6, right? Well, if and buts and candy and nuts, right? We all know what the sayings are. And this is a horseshoes and hand grenades team. As David said, the unfortunate part is 3 of the 4 left on the road. Sometimes that can be actually a good thing. Sometimes, from a coach's perspective, you remove all the distractions that can occur at home, the ticket request, your girlfriend's being on the court in the stands, whatever it may be. Hopefully, if you're Kevin Keatts, you can try to rally something, because there's no end in sight if you're not playing in Charlotte. And I think nowadays what's even more daunting and on the coach's mind, and we talked in the opener about how Hubert Davis has been somewhat relieved to know he's going to have someone else in place to help him adjudicate this, is that transfer portal opens up in March now. And it's going to be a topic of discussion ad nauseum for all of the coaches. Once the portal gets filled with 1,000 or so players, is, well, I can't take care of this if I'm coaching my team. And the most noise you'll hear are from teams almost in State's position. Are they playing in a conference tournament or not? Did they make the NCAA tournament or not? Are they playing in the NIT or not? Are they going to go Crown in Vegas? Are they going to play in the CBI? you'll have a lot of teams kind of on that threshold trying to save themselves from the portal by not playing, which is counterintuitive to really what you want to be doing with the kids coming back. Although nowadays there's nothing stopping a kid from going into the portal while he's still playing. It's really a daunting task for these coaches. And again, can't emphasize it enough why you need to have a team within the team that's working towards keeping your roster intact, whether it's financial, whether it's eligibility wise, or whether it's evaluating the portal to know who fits your roster moving into the future. These are the things that are probably weighing on state staff mind right now is although you want to win as many games as you can, coaches are always going to be competitive, players are going to want to win. Getting into the ACC tournament may have more ramifications for state than the opposite, because now all of a sudden you're not in the ACC tournament and idle time is the devil's playground, correct? And now all of a sudden that playground becomes the portal. And is this a case where, you're highlighting one of your freshmen now that you just started that led you to a win? And he's got the attention of about 30 other schools right now that he didn't have the attention of before because these guys are so lazy and they're just looking at the results. And you just posted a result that could have an adverse effect. It becomes very, very difficult to manage as it is enough to try to win the game. Then what's your roster going to look like potentially even at the end of March before you even make it to the Final Four and figure out with the other coaches what's going on. It's not the best time to be a coach if you're not in that upper echelon and you know exactly what's happening and what you have coming, but it's something that's going to be a challenge for Kevin Keatts and staff. The first and foremost thing they have to do is win the next one to figure out where they're at and see if they can avoid that last three, because as we found out last year, you can't win it unless you're in it. Can they replicate that magic? As David said, I tend to agree with him that they probably can't, given that the top half of the ACC or just the very top of the ACC. But there are some other streaks that can happen when you're on the bottom of the ACC right now. It's a very weak league. There's of the five power basketball leagues, if you will, and I'll count the Big East in this still. Only the Big Ten has 8 teams with winning records and more with losing records. Usually you want to have at least a 500 or better record for almost half, if not more, of your league. The ACC has 7 teams like that and 11 with losing records. And I know a couple of guys in the media got caught with the whole every league goes 500. But yes, there can be in a situation where more than half your teams have losing records because you're not going to play a fully balanced schedule and play every team twice. The Big 12 is 8-8 with that right now. The SEC is 9-7. The Big East is 6-5. We talked about the Big 10, 8-10 and close, but the ACC is clearly in the wrong direction on that. 7 teams 500 or better, 11 teams under 500. Why do I bring that up? Because there's a lot more opportunity, a lot less teams that show that task at hand to be beatable on the bottom half if you're NC State. You could string together a game or two against lesser opponents in those out brackets before you get to those byes that are waiting for you. And as we learned, winning 4 games in 4 days is not as daunting if you've won the first 2 and gained some momentum. Can it happen? Yes. Likely to happen? No. But given the structure of the ACC, this year, you may find it even more opportunistic for those bottom half teams to make that run because there's not as much resistance at the bottom as there has been in the past.
As David said, the ACC now at 18 teams. Back in the fall, it was Florida State Seminoles and head coach Mike Norvell that went from the penthouse to the outhouse from last year until this year. NC State's Kevin Keatts trying to avoid that same fate a year after winning the ACC championship in Washington, D.C., and making it to the Final Four. NC State needs to go on a run. Can they do it? Only time will tell. NC Port, raising the bacon, raising the bar.